What's going on, guys? Let's take a quick look at CLNE. See if if there's anything here we can go off of. Let me just shut this door. That could potentially be helpful to us. This is on the 45-minute. I've been watching CLNE. I actually made a play on this, and I bought some at actually 1087 was my target. So I put a buy in here with a couple call options, and I ended up selling it up here as we continued touching up here, getting rejected at this 1231. So we've been chopping around in here, and if we go to a larger time frame, like a 4-hour here, we can see what's going on. So a lot like Riot, we have a pretty solid pattern here with, some potential areas of support. There's two ways that we could look at this, right? Because it could be something bearish or bullish. I was kind of gearing more towards bullish, but if we drew a trend line here, we could potentially say that, hey, we broke down from here and we've been in this falling wedge, and now we're bouncing off of this area here of 1012, which obviously this is a rising support line here, and this support line was once resistance. This was where we used to bash our head up against a little bit in this area, and then when we broke through, we blasted up. We hit this resistance line, which would be a rising line as well, so we could say, hey, this line here, if we run it all the way across here, is where we bashed our heads against here this whole time. When we broke it, we broke up, then we caught some resistance up in this range. And this was kind of our blow off top. We came back, tried to back test this as support, completely failed. We dipped all the way down, had a big wick, bought back up. And at that point, it was showing which direction the stock wanted to go by this big wick. And we had a big sell off here. We broke this initial resistance here, or support, right? Was this support, wick down, but we managed to hold on this level, which makes more sense, which is why I got rid of this in general, because, hey, that was pretty weak, right? Even though at one point it did backtest here, it still could never hold that, so we don't really want to continue using that, because if something continuously crashes through it, then, putting that there is just going to make you tempted to buy that line, and that line is continuously broken, so let's not think about that line, right? Because it's going to screw us up in our TA, because that means nobody else is targeting that area as a buying zone, even though it is an area of confluence as of right now. It's more, is it strong resistance, or is it, that's the question. Let's just figure that out real quick. So if we were to line up where those wicks were, and we did leave that line there, you can see that it acts as strong resistance, but not really as strong support. And at one point it did kind of hold here, right? And then we blasted up. So obviously every time this thing runs, we get a lot of buying pressure in. But every time it comes to the downside, we do have like one or two wicks that seem to come off of here and just shoot us right up. But, in this scenario, which is why I put a buy order here, was because I noticed that. And we did get this up, but then we had a complete sell-off again. So now we're kind of coming back down here again to test the same area here, which unfortunately, as of right now, we are not getting any buying pressure there at this time. So that could be potentially more of a bearish thing, but at the same time, we're getting, pushed down due to these moving averages here. Excuse me. So, this area here is a very strong resistance, and unfortunately it's sloping way down. And this support here is a very strong support, but unfortunately it's sloping down. So right now we're kind of getting to that point where, hey, we are getting squeezed between this resistance and this support, right? We don't want to continue following this, or we're going to continue down further. But this support here, was definitely a good area here to long off of any time that it touched this area. So, right now, obviously the moving averages are saying, hey, we're going to continue pushing your ass down and you're going to fucking fall pretty low. But the buyers and the bulls here are saying, whenever you touch this trend line, though, I'm buying the fuck out of you. So that's kind of where we're at. If that, I'm sure that made perfect sense to anyone that likes melty analogies here. And that's kind of where it's at. So the moving averages and the bears are also all fighting to push you down. And we're trying so hard to hold this line. And you just saw, I just noticed, we had a big pop just after hours there. And it was right to that 1220 area, which was right roughly where we got rejected in the past there. So if we take a look at the RSI here, and this is on the 1 hour, last time we dipped to that area that I bought, which we also were very, very oversold, we had a great run. That was right here. So I made the perfect buy here. And then we blew up here, but we ended up getting rejected up here, which was unfortunate. And I could see that happening, which is why I sold my calls here. I think it was up $100 per contract, and I bought 4. And I sold them, and it was the perfect move. So we came back down here to test this area again. We're just kind of going sideways here, but we are consolidating here. So it's very possible that we get a nice run out of here. If we get rid of what I drew here, and we say, hey, screw all that. We don't even know what any of that means. I don't remember why I drew it there. But if we take a look here, at the last point that we came down to this 1087, this RSI was way down here. And this time when we came to that area, RSI is right here. Now, of course, it's still rolling a hair. So, this could be making some kind of bear flag, maybe. But as of right now, that's bullish divergence because the price action is showing that we're way up here. I mean, the RSI is showing we're way up here on the price action, but the price action is showing we're way down here or directly at the same level here. So that's bullish divergence, which can play out and cause a pop. This could also turn into some type of W, but we don't know for sure, right? Because this would just be us thinking it's going to be a W. But if we continue to get some bullish action here, what's the area that we want to blast above? Well, according to the latest price action that we had, this 1230 level all the way down to this 1085 seems to me like we're in some type of trading channel. Now, you could look at this and say, well, dude, this looks like a bear flag, which I'll agree with you. It definitely does. So what do we see right here? Do we see any type of trade setup? Technically, right here, where I bought last time, was a little risky, but that was just me basing it off of the past performance. So could we get another trade in here? We could. And we could trade this again, potentially. Like we could say, hey, we're going to go up to this 1230 again, but we know that this trend line here is very strong resistance. So if we were to make a trade here, we could buy a call option here with a break even of like 1180 or something like that. And I think that's what I did here, and I ended up being up $100 when it got up into this 1224. Now this time, it could come up, we could get rejected at this 1150, we could get rejected at this 1189 to 1195 area and come back down again. And we could consolidate here until we decide, hey, do we want to break out of here or do we want to break down? And of course, that's just kind of how it always goes. So if we look at some indicators, obviously, the moving averages don't look very pretty. And we have time to consolidate here. And we can run on this bottom lower trend line for a while. And we could actually, if we do continue sideways there and we just continue chopping in here in this potential bear flag, which is a downwards continuation move. And then eventually we just end up somehow creating some big rounding bottom, we could end up having a bullish move. If we look here, we don't spend a lot of time down here, which is a good thing. I mean, we've had an area right here where we chopped around in between this 1267 and this roughly $10 area before we blasted up, but that was after a big move. This was a downside move here, and if we put something like this, like we have right now, if we put this right here and we say, hey, from 1207 to 1016, and say we didn't see any of this price action, what would we see? We'd say, whoa, this kind of looks like a bear flag here. But look what happened after. A pretty good sized run, right? What did we do? We ran up here. We got rejected. We came down. Let's look at the RSI. At the time, we didn't even have bullish divergence at that time, but we did bounce off this dotted line, and then we ran. So, obviously, things that happen in the past, they don't have to happen the exact same way, and it could still be a fake out, and we don't know for sure. We had all these moving averages running down, looking like they were going to push us down further. So what's going on here? Well, we have all these moving averages looking like they're going to push us down. Could it actually push us down? The way that the market is playing, it's hard to think that this could go bullish. But how similar is this fractal? So what's the trade here, you ask? Well, the trade here would be, if you're ballsy, you could buy this, look for a buy around this 1093 to 1087, and you could slap your stop loss somewhere in this 1050 area. And you could play this thing. On a long play, you could play it up to this 1498 area. On a short-term play, you could, if you're doing a call option, I don't know. That's kind of tricky to do a long right now, but because, you could have price action here, and then it could come back down, and you could be down even lower than you were when you bought it, and that's just kind of how options work. So for buying shares, you could start buying some right around here and just throw your stop loss at either, whatever your risk reward is, right? 10.20, $10, or 10.50. And that would be with you saying, hey, the probability of this breaking down, this price action compared to this price action that we had on the left here, to me, it kind of looks pretty similar, and I'm willing to take the risk that this right here is going to be a fractal that potentially occurs the same way. And that's kind of where I'm at. I'm looking at this thing like, hey, although the moving averages are kind of looking a little scary here, and this could be a bear flag this time, and it could break down, I'm willing to take the chance here that, hey, this could be on support. This is pretty strong support according to all of these past wicks, and we have a pretty good potential chance that this could turn into a W, or it could trend sideways for a little bit before it gets some type of move to the upside. And, let's see on the RSI let's look at some larger time frames so that we can kind of see if there's anything else. So obviously this RSI could turn into some type of W here, but that's obviously speculation. And of course it could have a W pop that ends up rolling over like we've had over here. W's pop, roll over, W pop, roll over. But now we're kind of getting down to this lower dotted line here in the 4 hour, and you can see W pop. And now where are we now? So we could potentially have this W here with a nice run. And most of the time in this dotted line area here, we do end up getting some type of run to the upside. So let's see if that ends up happening or not. So the MACD is not calling for any type of bounces. The weekly, obviously it looks a little bit scary. So, for us to say, hey, we're reversing here, it's a little bit tough to say, and it's hard to call an exact bottom in any stock. To me right here, this candle right here that we just closed today is potentially a trend reversal candle. And, of course, we don't know for sure. Depending on, we could get a spinning top tomorrow, followed by, tomorrow's Friday, right? Followed by Monday being a good-sized candle out of here. So either way, if you already own clean, then this trend line would be potentially a good buying opportunity here. We had a death cross here of this 20 EMA crossing the 50. So that caused further downside. And as long as it doesn't continue to go down here and push us down below this 200 EMA, then we could still end up having some type of move here. And if we did, that would definitely change things around. But we are hanging down here a little bit, which we have done in the past. The only difference is, at this given time when this happened, we hadn't crossed with the 20 EMA yet. It was rolling down like it was going to cross, but then we ended up blasting above it. So, what would we need to do? We really would need to see ourselves getting above this 20 daily EMA, of course, or this 50 EMA, which is up in the $14 range. So, if you're not in this, I'm not really going to say like, hey, let's put in a trade here because we know it's the bottom, because we don't, and it could definitely fall over and continue down. So what would the play be? Well, the play would be waiting for it to get above this $15 level and getting some confirmation above here. If we wanted to play a short-term potential trade, we could look for some confirmation above this 1230 level here, and we could expect that if we do get that, then we could get a nice break out of this falling channel, and our measured move would be up to 1483, which if we did that, even if we tapped this 1532, got rejected, rolled over, then we could end up looking, potentially like an inverse head and shoulders or something that breaks us out. But we don't know for sure, and this is all speculation. But for now, that's kind of what I'm looking for. So, obviously this bearish, it's a little bit of a bearish looking chart with some of these EMAs pushing down. But short term, I'm kind of looking for a potential pop here. And with the volume is definitely declining. So we would be potentially looking for a move here. Obviously, this is just starting to look like a potential W. So I'm going to be keeping my eye on this thing, and I'm going to be looking for a potential trade here that this turns into a W here, and we could play that up. And, that's pretty much the video. I don't want to keep on rambling on, but let's just keep all of that in mind here, and maybe we can make some money off of this thing. All right. Hopefully you guys enjoy this video. Hit the like button if you do. Subscribe if you're not subscribed. And let's see if we can potentially get a nice pop out of this thing very soon. Peace.